The 2026 World Cup is about to feature 48 nations. All 48 countries have been dropped into WorldBox. Each nation will start with 5 people on their own island, along with traits inspired by their real-life culture. They'll get 100 years to grow, and then when the islands finally connect, only one nation will survive. Will the football giants like Argentina, France, Brazil, and England dominate, or will an underdog shock the world and become the last country standing? Let's find out. The hardest part is done with the 48 islands, and here is all of the kingdoms. I'm of course going to go ahead and rename them one by one, and for simplicity, I'm going to do it alphabetically. And here we go, the last of the kingdoms, Uzbekistan. We're now going to go ahead and edit some of their traits. For the USA, for example, we'll make them competitive, ambitious, and of course, war-oriented. Here we go, all of our kingdoms are ready for war. We're currently on year 5, and we're going to let them expand for a couple decades. We're now on year 100, and this is where everyone stands. The largest populations is Portugal with 73. They've developed pretty well, whilst Paraguay is actually attacking each other right now. They don't seem to be too happy with their rulers, I'm guessing. The smallest population is Norway with 5. We don't know what they've been doing over the last couple of years. They do have quite big guns, but when we compare with how much Austria has developed, or even Ecuador, their 2 watchtowers clearly don't stand a chance. If we check out a couple of statistics, and the most known, we have a Bosnian, a guy from Cape Verde, and an Argentinian. The richest is the Portuguese. The one with the most children is from Paraguay with an astonishing 14 kids. The smartest is from Scotland, and we got 3 people with 0 IQ, 1 from Colombia and 2 from Cape Verde. The strongest is a woman from Uruguay, and the weakest are from Ecuador as well as Switzerland. But hey, I think it's time to connect everyone. And in the blink of an eye, here we go. They can all connect with each other. Yeah, we've kept a little plot of water in the middle because why not? Kingdoms are going to be able to expand and potentially take over others as territory. Some countries like Brazil and Bosnia, who both have very low populations, are going to go ahead and stay in their little corners. Others like England, Egypt, Japan, and Jordan are going to go ahead and start visiting each other's as territories. And straight up, we're going to get our first war with Argentina and Algeria. Population of 60 for Argentina looks like an easy kill on Algeria. They're going to go ahead and burn down some buildings. And surprisingly enough, Argentina is going to lose a lot of a population there. They should be able to take Algeria's borders. There we go. Well, they didn't take them, but they erased Algeria. We have our first kill. Norway hasn't done any expansion yet. One of their guys seems to be pretty angry, but hey man, that's on you for not developing at all. Saudi Arabia is looking extremely strong with already some funky apartments. The oil money is really coming in. USA are chilling in the south. Not astonishing development, but just enough to be a threat to the neighbors. One of the strongest world economies, Germany, isn't looking too good either for the moment. 11 of a population, one of the soldiers sleeping up. They don't seem really interested in anything. And in a glimpse of an eye, another war starts erupting. It's actually like a 4-way war here. Japan getting attacked by England, Egypt coming in as well, and with only 2 humans left, I'm not sure Japan's gonna be able to hold this off. One of the British guys actually killing them, and despite being some geniuses, Japan completely disappears. England is still under the threat of Egypt. With a population of 14, they might fall down. This might be the very first big upset. Their buildings fall down one by one, and with this many soldiers and a strong king, Egypt takes over England. They're officially the first kingdom with 2 villages. I say that, Argentina has gone ahead and taken back Algeria. They're gonna try and reconstruct everything. We still have some really small kingdoms in the northeast not developing at all. They might be playing the very long game. And talking about small populations, well, on the other side of the spectrum, the 2 largest kingdoms, Portugal and Paraguay, start going at each other. It seems like Paraguay has the upper hand on Portugal, even though we had seen Portugal with quite a bit of a population earlier on and nice development. Someone's unlocked some tornado powers, and the Paraguayans are just thrown everywhere in their territory. This could be a good move for Paraguay though, taking up one of the borders. It also means one of the big World Cup threats, Portugal, could be going down so early on. And after a year of war, Paraguay takes over Portugal. They managed to get a second village and definitely look like one of the strongest empires. The USA have had enough of waiting up and watching everyone do the work, so they've decided to go on Uruguay. Kind of a small kingdom with only population of 9. The USA are going to go ahead and lose quite a bit of soldiers though, and strategically Uzbekistan is going to go ahead and backstab Uruguay. They're going to try and swoop up all of the Uruguayan territory and steal it from the American hands. We can see some really intense fighting on the borders, and Uruguay's population slowly diminishing. With 1 soldier left, but an insane gun, the territory's still holding, but 1 fatal hit, just like that, and Uruguay is gone. The USA are down to 13, not looking too good for them. In the meantime, Cape Verde, who's got 97 of a population, have decided to go ahead and take up some small territories. Seems like Bosnia Bosnia and Brazil might fall here. The last of the Bosnians falls, and one of the favorites, Brazil, collapses under the Capo Verdeans' reign. If they go ahead and take up this territory, they could look like a threat. The USA, Uzbekistan, as well as Qatar are trying to sneak up and take up a little bit of this territory. New Zealand decides it's time for Norway to go away. They're taking up way too much of a territory for how small they are. Panama seems to join in as well, and we even get some French people coming over. Norway easily falls, and that's another kingdom down. In the meantime, Switzerland collapsed, Sweden as well, whilst Germany got taken over by Ghana. It's crazy how taking one of the kingdoms can turn you into one of the strongest superpowers. Well, technically there's not much at stake, as you did burn down most of the territory. We're now down to 37 kingdoms. Some wars are still happening, with Austria and Belgium fighting it off in the north, as well as Turkey and Tunisia. It does seem like Senegal and South Africa are turning into collateral damage. And as Tunisia starts falling, South Africa and Senegal are also going to join up and try to steal what's left. There we go, Turkey's taking that territory over. Belgium and Austria still fighting it off. Population numbers are drastically falling though. And Cabo Verde is actually going to join in. Colombia as well. It is free territory, right? And Austria is finally going to get what they wanted. They now have 2 villages, but are looking quite low in population. And we're now on year 122, and it's crazy to see the differences in development. For example, we have France right in the middle, but mostly just random houses. Capo Verde has developed all of their buildings, so have Saudi Arabia, as well as Argentina. They're looking stronger and stronger. Talking about Saudi Arabia, they've decided to go to war with Qatar, which is kind of ironic that they're next to each other. Probably a fight about politics, some random territory, and a bit of oil. I mean, Saudi does have a strong lead with almost 100 of a population, but they are really packed up. They are one of the smallest kingdoms in terms of territory, which means whenever one of these guys from Qatar throws in a grenade or shoots a little gunfire, they're probably gonna hit a bunch of Saudis. I say that, but Qatar ends up falling quite easily. Saudi Arabia taking all of their territory and whatever is left with it. In the meantime, Scotland's decided to attack Panama, and it definitely seems like they have a strong advantage. They've already developed some bubble shields, and within just a year of fighting, Scotland goes ahead and takes all of the territory. The USA have gone up to 66. They haven't actually rebuilt much of what Uruguay used to be. And to be fair, neither have they developed anything on their end. They're just living in the forest. Turkey has a lot of space, not really reproducing very quickly. Egypt has managed to go up to a population of 101. France is looking strong on 85, but the most dangerous are by far Argentina and Capo Verde. The small kingdoms are going to start to struggle now. Haiti's going to get ambushed and pretty much get hit by all of its bordering countries. We got Iran, Ghana, and Canada all on them at the same time. It feels like they're just waiting up for one guy to make a move and then everybody else just joins in. Question is going to be, is anyone going to take up this territory, or is it just going to fall to ruins? The king's trying to hold off here behind the library, one of his strongest soldiers as well here, and in the midst of things, he just gets ejected from the world. Haiti disappears, and now it's just basically some random territory. Paraguay is going to go into Iraq. This could be their 3rd village, and a couple countries are going to sandwich South Korea. We got Spain coming in from the west and Turkey from the south. South Korea is going to collapse extremely quickly, and Iraq is going to be taken over by Paraguay. They're now up to 3 villages. If anyone follows football, or as we call soccer, these guys are definitely not one of the favorites. But look at the position they've gotten themselves into. One of technically the host nations, Mexico. They're going to get in trouble with Morocco and Jordan. We haven't seen any of these countries yet do anything. There's not much territory to take, to be fair, especially if you're going to burn everything down. One of our favorites, Argentina, is going to go for a big push on DR Congo. I think some of Czech Republic's buildings are going to get caught on fire though in the midst of things. And weirdly enough, Jordan's going to back out from the war, and Morocco, having had such a strong lead in population, is going to start falling behind. Mexico might have managed their resources a lot better. There we go. Congo's going to go. Argentina's basically lost none of their population. There's a 3rd village for them. This Mexico versus Morocco fight is one of the best ones we've seen so far. Unfortunately for them, they go super low. Mexico's got 6 soldiers left. Morocco's got 1. I think it's the leader right here standing in the back, but look at the superpowers right next to them, ready to swoop everything up. As I say that, Morocco disappears, and just a couple years later, Netherlands decides to go into Mexico. They've just been patiently waiting for their time to come. It's now going to be Mexico's turn to disappear, and a lot of random wild territory to be taken now by everyone. Spain's going to try and swoop up a little bit of it. I also don't know how this is possible. They apparently have all of this territory, but this mine. This is not theirs. Capo Verde has gone up to an astonishing 172. It's crazy how they have 2 villages. One of them is insanely developed, and the other that used to be Brazil only has some small houses. Saudi Arabia and Uzbekistan are also going to go to war, and the USA are going to join in on them. It is a good move to potentially steal a free territory. They don't have great borders to push through though. Uzbekistan is going to go down to 16. In the meantime, Colombia is going to collapse to Austria. So Austria gets their third village. Curacao try to go for a push on Croatia. I believe they had much of a stronger population, but yeah, they do lose that battle. So Curacao is down now, and despite Saudi Arabia going for a push on Uzbekistan, it is USA who managed to conquer the village. So somehow they've done quite well, even though technically there's nothing left. I've also just noticed I've written one of these countries wrong. There we go, that's fixed. So somehow USA is now a strong superpower. Not much they can do against the 215 Argentinians though, 179 Egyptians, or even the 163 Senegalese. We haven't actually seen anything from them, but they've developed really well. Argentina's gonna realize it's time to go for another push. So they're gonna go ahead and bring loads of their soldiers down and start fighting off Ecuador. And honestly, Ecuador, I don't think you stand much of a chance. In the meantime, another host nation, Canada, is gonna get attacked by Cape Verde, which is pretty much doomed for them. Looking at the borders they have, this is a really easy kill. Ecuador is gonna be taken over by Argentina, who now have 4 villages, whilst Canada is gonna fall extremely quickly to the hands of the Cape Verdeans. And honestly, the faster the better, because it probably means you keep some of these buildings standing. In the meantime, Iran is gonna fall, getting sandwiched between Ghana and Paraguay. Paraguay is gonna go ahead and take their 4th village. 250 of population, they're looking very strong. Canada finally collapses. Unfortunately for Cabo Verde, they didn't get it in time. So all of this territory is up to anyone to take. We're 48 years into battle, and finally the French have made a move. They're going into Ivory Coast. And actually, Ivory Coast seems like they're just getting battered from every side of their territory. Eventually, Ivory Coast is gonna fall, and France are finally gonna get a 2nd village. This brings us to our top 20. So hopefully one of your countries has made it so far. We've had some dramatic falls, some good steals, and some very strong superpowers. We're not talking enough about Austria, but they've managed to go up to 150 now. They're developing their central village. We have Czech Republic, Australia, Croatia, Senegal, South Africa, New Zealand, Netherlands, and Spain, who are holding on to only 1 village. But things are going to accelerate extremely quickly. Senegal is going to go in for a fight on Turkey with double the population and quite some good advancements. It seems like Senegal should have the upper hand here. Paraguay is also going to fight Saudi Arabia, and that's going to be one hell of a fight because Saudi have developed super well and are going to be able to defend themselves. It seems like Scotland is collateral damage. They're just fighting some random Senegalese in the north. And again, we're going to get some Americans to try and sneak in into Turkey. Hey, their strategies worked once on Uzbekistan. It might as well work again. The Spanish are also going to sneak in from the west, and it didn't pay off as Senegal went in to steal the Turkish capital. Seems like Saudi Arabia has lost their capital as well, and not much damage being done, which means Paraguay are playing this super smart. They have lost quite a bit of their population though. They're down to 113. They gotta keep an eye on the north with kingdoms with over 200. Funnily enough, USA not having a border on Turkey anymore, they're gonna go into Saudi Arabia. Hey, I mean, they're not wrong if they can steal that off from Paraguay. It seems like they've held off anyways, and it is gonna pay off because the USA are gonna get their 3rd village. Spain is gonna go ahead and grab Turkey. The Turkish king's still alive and not happy, and he gets absolutely killed by this random Spanish warrior contest. What a legend. It's crazy to look at it and see that the strongest kingdoms are all on the outskirts. It was kind of bound to happen, but Austria is going to go into Croatia. They only have 59 of a population. At this stage, it's basically nothing. Egypt is going to go ahead and fight in their north against Czech Republic. The Argentinians are also going to join in because they might as well. With 260, they currently have the strongest population. Unfortunately for the Czechs, you do collapse. No one is going to get the kingdom though. Croatia is eventually going to fall into the hands of the French. So they've been quite opportunistic. They've done an American style of push. Austria's lost all of their population on that, and the French went in to steal a village. And going down solo is basically a free kill for Cape Verde. So they're gonna go into Austria. Apparently Australia is gonna go in as well. We kind of forgot about these guys. Didn't even know they were alive. They're trying to steal any village they can. I think some of the Ghanaians as well are gonna push into Austria. They're already celebrating. I saw firework there. And even France is gonna go ahead and join in. Cape Verde is gonna steal a first village. They're up to 4 now, but lose it immediately after. Not sure how that made sense. Another one of their villages is gonna fall down, and eventually France manages to steal the last one. So Cape Verde got done a little bit here, but even worse, so did Australia. And honestly, with such a low population, it's basically a free kill for Argentina. They've been keeping each other up as neighbors for a long time now. I guess Argentina has had enough, and eventually Argentina is gonna take all of it and get their 5th village. In the meantime, the USA really have developed their population numbers, over 200 for the first time. And if we look at it, there's no development, but they're just building houses and houses. All they want is to reproduce. They want an army of soldiers with no brains. Ghana is the first to go up to 300, as the Netherlands finally go in for a war on South Africa. It seems like the South Africans stand absolutely no chance. New Zealand, who's been chilling the whole time, I mean, it's been like 170 years and you've developed nothing. fighting, they're gonna actually go into South Africa, helping out the Netherlands. Kind of ironic these two are fighting, to be fair. And eventually, South Africa is taken over. The Netherlands have finally done something good. They're sending out the fireworks. It's not quite the 4th of July yet. There's still 13 teams standing. Chill out, Netherlands. You've barely taken anything. 1 library, 1 watchtower, and 2 houses. The rest, you've just burned it all down. And in the midst of things, New Zealand lost quite a bit of population. The rats of France are gonna think it's a good idea to go in. Same for the Jordanians and the Egyptians. The Dutch are still celebrating, whilst New Zealand is completely collapsing. France is gonna take all of that over, and suddenly they look like the strongest power out there. I say that right when Paraguay went in for a push on USA, instantly took a village out of them and just chucked it away. Their populations are quite even though, but over the years, Paraguay has really built an army for themselves. Seeing the opportunity arise, Ghana's gonna go in for a backstab, and so is Scotland. Within just a couple seconds, Paraguay's troops are falling like flies. Ghana's gonna go ahead and take a first village out of them. A couple years later, a second one. And as this unfolds, Scotland puts themselves in a weak position, which France realizes, as well as Senegal. Paraguay is gonna lose one of their villages, as the USA are slowly taking back what once was theirs. Scotland's gonna lose one of their villages to Paraguay, which is quite funny, because it does seem like Paraguay is eventually gonna fall off. One of Ghana's villages is going to completely disappear as the USA's population drastically falls down. They're going in with numbers into wildfire. Maybe not the smartest of plays. The Senegalese population is also going down. They still taking the time to build a cathedral and a skyscraper. Capo Verde is going to take their time to go and fight Ghana, who's basically gone from being one of the strongest superpowers to nothing. In the meantime, Argentina's having a great time here. They still haven't rebuilt their Australian territories, but they've gone up to 450. Capo Verde is going to take one of the villages, and it seems like Scotland managed to steal a village from France. They've separated themselves up. Senegal's lost a village as well. Things are going bonkers. We still got Jordan and Egypt chilling it out. I think Spain and the Netherlands have allied to go ahead and take up Senegal, and it seems to be paying off. I say that Scotland's taking that back, so Scotland has 3 villages with a population of 16. Not sure how that works. Paraguay is going to collapse, and they were actually 10th. Scotland loses both of the villages they had stolen, and in the glimpse of an eye, Argentina and Capo Verde are looking extremely strong. Scotland is eventually gonna fall down and be top 9, which isn't too bad. The Netherlands are still constantly celebrating, and somehow Paraguay's come back to life? I don't know how that's worked out. I think their king was still alive somewhere, and he managed to steal that village. So I'm not sure, is Paraguay top 9, or is Scotland top 9? They now have a population of 2, so he's managed to either reproduce or just found some random dude here. Yeah, he's found a 3-year-old. Not sure that's gonna work out. One of the smallest kingdoms remaining, Jordan, they're gonna start getting sandwiched by Argentina in the north, Netherlands in the south, as well as a couple Spaniards. Jordan's gonna lose a first village, whilst the population of Netherlands has really taken a hit. Argentina's still looking strong with 360. They've technically lost 100 in this war, but that's barely nothing to them. Paraguay is finally gonna fall as the USA decided to declare war on Capo Verde. I'm not sure that is the right move. Jordan's last village is gonna collapse. There they go as top 8. We now have 7 left, with some of the strongest countries out there, and a random island who's managed to survive all the way. And they have 5 villages, which is as much as France and Argentina. We're now on year 183. A couple years have gone by, not much has changed. There were quite a bit of wars over the last decades, and kingdoms needed to rebuild. The USA managed to get their population number up and founded a new village. Argentina is still balling on almost 500, and the Netherlands are clearly the weakest. A couple years later, Spain's gonna have enough of their neighbor, so they're gonna go ahead and attack the Netherlands. It kind of looks like a free kill, but at the same time, the other populations have developed so much that this is dangerous for Spain. The Dutch population is going to drastically fall, and some Argentinian leader is going to go ahead and notice that. He's going to realize it's time to go in for the war. Yep, he is going to die quite easily. I mean, he was probably the least trained leader ever, but it is going to get the rest of the Argentinian army to join in. Spain's population is going to fall down to 50, which is really rough at this stage of the game. The USA are going to notice that and send a first soldier on the front line. He is going to get absolutely obliterated, but more soldiers are going to join up. If they can take even just one village out of all this, that would be a win for them. Argentina is going to go ahead and grab up a first village from the Dutch, whilst the Dutch are going to do the same to the Spanish. A little bit weird as they are collapsing, but the USA are going to go ahead and grab that one back straight after. The Dutch are eventually going to lose out on their last village, and suddenly the USA are back into contention. Yes, they only have 400 600 of a population, but they now have 5 villages. The Americans and Argentinians are still pushing into Spain, might as well get rid of them. And at the same time, Egypt is gonna get ambushed between France and Argentina. They have the smallest kingdom, but they have great developed builds, and all of those are gonna go down into ashes. Their population numbers are gonna fall down rapidly. I mean, you got France in the east with 700, and then Argentina in the west with almost 600. What could they have done? Oh, and by the way, Spain totally collapsed, so they go ahead and make it into the top 6 of the World Cup. Egypt is gonna lose a first village to Argentina, and their second one to France. Egypt make it into the top 5, and now we got the 4 strongest civilizations left. In the northwest, Argentina. In the northeast, Cape Verde. In the central part, we got France. And in the south, we got USA. We could call them the underdogs because they've been the ones struggling the most so far. But hey, they've caught up on Argentina's population now. A couple years are gonna go by. We're now into year 212, and France is gonna declare war on the USA. As you can see, the populations have risen quite well. France is over 1600. The USA are only standing on 1000. We're saying only because they are only top 3. This could be one of the decisive fights. We can see the USA have finally developed themselves, some nice apartment buildings, and a lot of skyscrapers. They have taken over all of what Senegal used to have, and they were a highly developed nation. It is the time for Argentina and Cape Verde to just kind of watch the fight and let them do the work for them. France does have a poor positioning, being right in the middle of everyone, so they do need to get out of it really quickly. Although they're trying to fight strongly, the American population is falling drastically. France has barely lost 100 soldiers so far, and the Americans doubled that. The trenches are looking wider and wider, and the French have developed insane watchtowers. They start pushing into one of the villages and try to take it over. The Americans are managing to hold them off, but they've already lost almost half of their warriors. And as the USA fall below 500 of a population, France manages to steal one of their villages. And this is the moment Argentina decides to come into the war. They realize they can't let France take over the USA, or else they're gonna have too much of an advantage. So they start pushing into the north, whilst the French are still taking over American villages. The USA are down to 300, but France are slowly but surely falling down as well. The so strong Argentinian army, who had prepped up over all of those years, was managing to get some strong pushes going. And as the years went by, the USA starting to rebuild themselves a little bit, got one of their villages back, and now France wasn't looking that strong anymore. And guess what? We've had one country just chilling in the corner so far, my man Cape Verde. They see the downfall of France, as well as the downfall of all of the other kingdoms. They realize they have a higher population than all of the rest combined. And one by one, Argentina, France, and the USA start falling. One of the French villages collapses, another one is taken over by Cape Verde, even the king goes into the front line. They know this could be the winning push. Villages are collapsing left, right, and center. Argentina lose one of them. Their population is still okay though. If you compare it to how bad France is doing, they're about to lose 2 villages in one go. They lose the first one, another one in the north, and whilst the USA are trying to push one of the southern French villages, Cape Verde goes in for a push from the south. They manage to get the American village in the corner. France collapses, loses all of their villages. Argentina's still holding on. They're trying to rebuild themselves, but Cape Verde is advancing extremely fast. France eventually disappears, and that's a top 4 for them. So close, yet so far. Cape Verde is looking like they're in the strong position, and managed to almost lose 2 villages at once. One of them disappears, the other one is being held off, and in seconds they steal a little bit of the Argentinian territory and force the USA to retreat into only one base. It seems like Cape Verde's got this in the bag, and on year 227, the USA are erased off the map. Top 3 it is for them. Not a bad take considering their start, and after some hard-fought years defending, Argentina also collapses. And after centuries of expansion, alliances, betrayals, and wars, the winner of the 2026 World Cup Battle Royale is Cape Verde. Argentina came incredibly close, finishing up in 2nd place, while the United States secured their 3rd position right in front of France. Just wanted to clarify something. As you can see, this was recorded on the 6th of June 2026 at 7 p.m. EU time. And if we open this file up, we can see that it wasn't rigged and that Cape Verde actually won. And I didn't, kind of do it on purpose. Yes, they've been the hype of the tournament, and somehow WorldBox predicted that there would be something great related to them.